welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be all about my eyebrow microblading experience, which I got done about 2 years ago now. So I thought it would be interesting to just walk you through the process, tell you like whether or not it hurt, do I think it's worth it or not, post-care, and all those sorts of things. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. That would really help me. I make a lot of wellness videos, beauty videos, demonstrations, tutorials, reviews. So if you're interested in any of those, then please go ahead and subscribe, and I hope this is helpful for you guys. So let's just dive right in. I went to a place called UV Glamorous. It's in Sacramento, so if you're in the Sacramento region, I would definitely recommend going to UV Glamorous. Eyebrow microblading is a semi-permanent makeup procedure where they go in with a teeny tiny little blade that mimics natural hair stroke. Think of it as a tattoo. It will eventually fade over time. It is, like I said, semi-permanent. It just makes tiny little teeny marks in the skin that look like real hairs. It is pretty expensive. It cost me about $450 total, but really if you think about all of the money you spend on eyebrow powders and eyebrow gels and eyebrow liner and all that kind of stuff, it is a trade-off. Like, you're still gonna be spending money either way. This is just definitely a lot up front. And the entire appointment takes about 2 hours, from designing the shape that you want to picking out your color, and then of course the actual microblading procedure. So you'll first, of course, go through your initial appointment where you will get your eyebrows microbladed on, and then about 4 to 6 weeks later, you'll come back for your follow-up appointment. Just because regardless, like in the healing time of 4 to 6 weeks, like you're gonna experience some pigment loss. You might need to touch up the shape a little bit. It's just like to really make sure that they're the way that you want them to be, and it's kind of like a check-in. So yeah, initial appointment and then the follow-up appointment. Just taking you through the initial appointment. First off, talk with the technician to make sure that you're both on the same page of how you want the shape to be. And this is such a critical part of this whole process, and I would highly recommend that you come in with pictures. When I went in, I told the technician that I wanted a much more fuller brow than what I had. I love the like full feathery thick brow look, and my brows are on the thicker side, but I still wanted them like thicker. So I did come in with a few pictures, and we talked about it, and she gave me some advice on what she thought, and I think it's just really important to really have that conversation. And sorry for the siren. So yeah, I think it's just really important to have that two-way conversation and really decide what is going to be the best shape for you. Once you pick the shape, then you're going to go in and pick your color. And it's recommended that you pick a color a little bit darker than what you think, just because inevitably your color is going to fade a little bit. So whatever color you do choose, it's going to end up long-term being a little bit lighter than that. So I went with a color or a shade of brown a little bit darker than what I wanted it to be long term, so that when it fades, it would be the perfect match. So once you have the color, once you have the shape, technician draws out the shape that you both discussed, and she just does this, he or she does this with a marker. Obviously look at it and you can make any changes that you want, the right thickness, the right shape, all that good stuff. They will put on a numbing cream onto your eyebrows, and I remember just kind of hanging out for like a good 20-30 minutes, honestly, just to like really let that numb up that area. They'll do a stroke, dual stroke, and then they'll wipe it, and then they'll do more stroke. And that, I'm not gonna lie, hurt. And I do have a very high pain tolerance, I would say. And it was a little uncomfortable, but nothing unbearable. I feel like with a lot of beauty procedures we do, like waxing and all that, like, it's gonna hurt. There's no way around it. For the few minutes of pain, it's so much worth it, the end product. Honestly, if you are feeling a little bit like, oh my gosh, I can't take this, just politely like ask them to put on more numbing cream. I know that my technician was constantly like checking in with me and making sure I was all right, letting me, like if I ever needed a break, she would just kind of like hang out and just let me breathe. And if I needed more numbing cream on, that was always an option too. Don't let the pain freak you out by any means. That should be like the least of your worries. Then my entire process took, I would say, about an hour and 30 minutes, an hour and 45 minutes. I will say that when I first looked at my eyebrows after the procedure was done, I was very like, oh my god, like I literally looked like the Cookie Monster. I remember though, at that moment, I was just like, oh my gosh, I look like a cartoon now. Like, I don't know what to do. And I remember like freaking out and Googling like, how fast do these fade? Like, is this gonna stay like this? And I was like freaking out thinking that they were going to be like this forever. And let me just tell you, if you're going through that right now, please, please, please trust me when I say that is only temporary. And I mean, obviously that's fresh pigment. Of course, it's gonna look very intense at first after you got it done, but it will definitely fade within the next 3 to 4 days, definitely the next week, and definitely the month of healing. But that said, yes, you will have pretty freaking intense looking brows for, I would say, about 3 to 4 days. They will be like, wow, your eyebrows are on point. I would say about after a full 7 days to even 2 weeks, they definitely look a lot more natural. They've faded a lot more, and it's just less of that like glaring, oh my gosh. But yeah, definitely try to get this procedure done on like a Friday so you have that weekend to recover before Monday, or you know, work from home. So as far as the post treatment, you are not supposed to apply makeup on your eyebrows or get them wet for the next 10 days. Especially with makeup, like just think about it, you have teeny tiny little essentially wounds in your eyebrows, and you don't want any bacteria to get in there. So just like keep your hands off of them, keep your makeup definitely out, and just don't get them wet. Washing my face like in the sink and just being very careful around them. I couldn't stick my head underneath the water. Like, you have to be very, very, very careful. Shouldn't really be working out for the next either few days or honestly like the whole week. I don't really remember. But just because you don't want to be sweating and have your oils come through and again like irritate it, and again that oil is going to make the pigment fade quicker. And especially right after you get it done, that like first few weeks is very detrimental of like having the pigment stay in. So the more you do to kind of get in the way of that, the more it's gonna fade long term. After the first week or two that I started to notice that I would have these like little teeny tiny scabbing looking tubes around my hairs, and that is completely normal. It's just the healing process once again. And you know, if that does happen, just like take a wet cloth and gently you know, wipe your eyebrows and get the excess off. But like, I wouldn't really recommend, even though it's very tempting, to like get a makeup spoolie and brush it through to get them out, even though it's so tempting, and you just want them to like be gone. Again, it's like that, who knows where your spoolie's been, that's bacteria. You just want to like, the less you touch your eyebrows in the healing process, the better. But just know that scabbing is totally normal. So after 4 to 6 weeks, you have your follow-up appointment. And when I went in for mine, the technician was actually very surprised of how much my eyebrows actually faded. And we kind of both talked about it and decided it was because I have very oily skin. And unfortunately, if that's just one of those things, like if your skin is more oily, the pigment is going to fade faster, and there's really not much you can do about it. But that's why you have a follow-up appointment. And basically, she went in with, I think, an even darker color just to like really ensure the color stays on this time. She just like went over any areas that had faded noticeably, and yeah, I think that total time maybe was like 45 minutes, and then I was good to go. But once again, after that follow-up appointment, again, I kind of looked like the Cookie Monster. 4 or so days of like, wow, intense brows, and then slowly the weeks to come, they would fade. This time I was a little like more prepared for it, and I knew that it would get better in the month to come. So yeah, that's pretty much the process of it all. Do I think it's worth it? Would I do it again? Honestly, my answer is no. So like my brows in particular, I have pretty long hairs, but the thing is that they just never stay upright. They just like lay to the side, and it like takes a lot for me to get them to stand up. I would wake up in the morning and like my natural brow hairs would be like to the side laying down, but you could obviously see where there would be the tattooed brush strokes above right here. Texture was obviously different. Like, they were obviously, one was like painted on and one's my real hairs. So I found that I just like every single day. I needed to constantly be making sure my eyebrow hairs were up to really blend the two together so it didn't look as crazy. If you do want to go outside your natural brow shape, unless you really brush your brows every day and make it all blend, there's gonna be that line where you can tell between your real brows and what's just like tattooed on. Another thing, for whatever reason, my right brow seemed to hold onto the pigment better than my left brow. So my left brow actually faded a lot in through here pretty quickly actually, and this one still was very evidently like you could see the strokes above here. So, and I actually liked how the faded one looked more because I thought it looked more natural, where again this one, it was like an obvious difference between real hair and the strokes. So it then became a matter of, well, I want them to look even, so then again I felt like I had to kind of really work to blend it all in together. And I could have definitely gone in for a touch-up to darken this one to match this one, but like I said, I actually preferred the look of it more faded. And I think just after a few months of having them, I just realized, like, to be completely honest, it was more work than before I got the procedure. Now they definitely are a lot better. Like the left one, it's definitely a lot less noticeable, the difference between the two. This is 2 years now and they're still on. Like it's gonna fade, yes, but it's gonna take a while to completely fade. I hope that was helpful for you guys. I know I wish I would have seen a video like this before I decided to go for mine. Like I said, I think they could be great for some people, but just honestly really think about the shape that you're going for before you commit. I hope you guys liked that video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!